I think it's safe to say at this point that Roblox has lost a lot of its identity, right? Like, I feel like a lot of us, depending on how old you are, obviously, but I feel like a lot of us have started playing the game at a very different era than when Roblox is at right now, right? All of the popular games were different. Roblox just felt different. Like, there was just something about it that had a different atmosphere. And now that's changed. And I'm not saying that it changed in a bad way. I think Roblox is actually going in a positive direction because obviously the people running Roblox know what's bringing in more players and more revenue. So obviously whatever they're doing right now is working because it's even more popular than before. But I just wanted to, as a developer, or just as someone who has access to Roblox Studio and also this old template that games used to be made from, I thought it would be just interesting to look into exactly what changed. Is it just nostalgia? Did nothing change? Or was there something fundamental that was actually shifted? Because I feel like in a lot of games, people are like, oh, like I remember the good old days. Or not even in games, just even like in real life. So many people are like, I remember 2010 being great. And it's like, bro, 2010, I was like 4 years old, But like even for me, whenever I look back to a time that I feel nostalgia for, when I think about it logically, the time isn't actually different. It's just that it was just my first time experiencing something and it just felt cool. Like my first time playing video games was a lot more fun and exciting than my, 200,000th time playing video games, So, before we try to logically understand whether all of this was nostalgia or not, I will say one more thing. What do you not care about the most for? Like, just think of every single thing out there that is kind of relevant to your life. Which one do you just not care about at all? I guarantee that me getting a silver play button is like at the least of your concerns, right? But I will say that if I do get 100,000 subscribers and I get the little play button, I would feel pretty good. And I would post a picture on my like YouTube community page and the Discord server. And then you can see that. And you can be like, yay, I kind of contributed to that. And, people do say that a test of your mental resilience is to do something that you don't want to do, right? So even though you don't care about giving me anything, if you're enjoying the videos, do subscribe because it helps me, helps people to find these amazing, life-changing videos. And I would like a play button. They look pretty cool. But alright, to get to the actual video, I've been kind of zooming around this base plate, and if you've watched any video of mine ever, you're very familiar with this thing. I start off every single video just in here, moving my camera around. And this world consists of very simple things. It has a camera, this camera that's moving around. It has any potential terrain that we might want to add, and it has the spawn location and the base plate. And inside of the two, we have their images, right? So if I remove this, the image disappears. If I remove this, the image also disappears. And also, in case you somehow don't know, this is a template. This is the default template for every single Roblox game. Every single Roblox game that's ever been started was started with this template. Any game you can think of, Doors, Adopt Me, Pet Sim, I don't know whatever games are popular right now. But if they're even fairly recent, you can consider this place to be kind of like their home. And then we get to this old base plate. And look, I'll be honest, I'm actually not too sure which year or which month the change was made in. But you can probably, even just from the looks of this, see that this is pretty outdated, right? Like this looks a lot less polished and a bit more uglier, I would say, than the previous base plate. And this was used as a template before, right? So any single game that is old was started with this template. Every single game that's old began with this base plate. And if we actually check what's inside of this world, we have the camera, we have the terrain, but we just have the base plate. There is no spawn location. And another thing is that this base plate, it has no image, but yet it has this cubey texture, which to me is very interesting because if I try and make a part, it has a smooth texture. There is no cubey texture. But if I check the materials for both, they're both the same. The material here is plastic, and here it's also plastic. I'm not a Roblox part expert, so like if someone smarter could, comment and let me know why it is the way it is, I would appreciate that. But just even from the look of it, you can already kind of feel a slight difference, right? New Roblox parts are a lot more smoother, right? There's like, they still have a texture to them, right? Like it's not just like a flat color. There's still this like little, like you can still see like little dimples and everything. But it's like, this just looks like Lego, It just looks kind of weird. And then this just looks a lot better. And I feel like the lighting as well is just better. Like there's more sun, you know, the sky kind of reflects the blue light more. Everything's bluish, everything looks kind of more realistic. And the base plate, I would say, looks a lot better than, you know, whatever this thing is. Now, the other thing, which in my opinion is a really big difference, is the difference between R15 and R6. So to anyone who's at least, I believe, like 15 or 16, you've likely experienced this change where Roblox went from their original R6 rig to the R15 rig. And if I just add both of these in right now, you might actually not see too much of a difference. Like, okay, yeah, you know, like we have like a hand here and we have legs, and you know, there's like another like smaller part over here that like this character doesn't have. But all in all, they don't look that different, you know? Well, the main difference is that this rig is an R6, or in other words, it has 6 parts, if you don't count the humanoid root part, which is like an invisible part in every character. And the R15 rig, which is over here, has 15 different parts. So in other words, that is 9 more parts that the new rig has. And let's just think about this for a moment. Why would a rig need 9 more parts, even though it looks the same? What's the point of adding more lines? What's the point of adding an upper arm or a lower arm when this character just has one arm? And the answer to that question are animations. So let me just show you something real quick, right? What I'll do is I'll name both of these starter character, like so. I'm gonna take this rig, which is, you know, the old default R6 rig. I'm gonna copy it, and let's see, if I just go over here, can I just paste it like this? Oh yes, I can. That's actually pretty cool. And then I'll take this rig, which is the default current rig, and then I'll place it over here. So what this does is whenever you name a rig starter character, then when you play the game, you can now play the game as this character. So if I go in and play the game, right, look at this. I'm now this rig. And just by standing still, just look at these animations, right? You can kind of see how the character is like moving around, right? The character, even though blocky, feels more like a humanoid. And then whenever we walk, right, like you can see there's a lot more movement in the arms and the legs, and it just feels like, I don't know, smoother and more realistic, but still blocky and still consistent with the, you know, Roblox's art style or whatever you want to call it. And then let's go to the old base plate. So the very first thing that you might notice is that the lighting feels kind of off. And the other thing you might notice is how the idle animation doesn't feel off, but feels a bit too simplistic, you know? Just the hands are moving forward and backward, the character's kind of bobbing up and down, but there's not much of a level of detail compared to, you know, the default current rig. And the biggest difference, which I think will be true for a lot of people, is the way that the character walks, which is like this. This is a very, very simple walk. There's no fluid movements, you know, there's no like limbs that are moving together to create like a bending arm. It's just parts moving forward and backward. That's all that this character is. And again, just for comparison, right, this is what it looks like right now, right? The character can jump and there's more limbs, and then you stand still and there's just, I don't know, you know, the idle animation is better in my opinion. But then here it's like, it's just blocks. And again, the reason I'm showing this to you isn't to say that one was better than the other. I'm trying to highlight the differences between the two. Because again, our goal here is to understand whether Roblox actually had a different feel back then. And, you know, just even from the character designs and the character animations, there's already pretty big differences between the two. Now, the other thing that I mentioned was how the lighting looked kind of weird, right? Like here it looks nice, you know, like we have a shadow and everything, and, you know, it's shining the light at me. And this looks a lot more natural in a way. But then if I go here, I can't explain exactly what it is. We have the shadows technically, you know, like all of this works. We have the sun over there, and I believe we can see some light emanating from this direction. But this just feels like kind of slightly lower quality, you know? And a way that I can actually prove this is if I stop both games and if I remove the starter character, right? So if I just use my own default character. If I play the game over here, something that my character actually has are these cool golden headphones, right? Which, not to flex, but I spent like $200 on it or something. Like I was buying Robux and then they just gave them to me for free, or not for free, but you know what I mean. And these are cool, right? I really like them. They're shiny. They fit my head, my virtual head pretty well. And when I say shiny, I mean shiny. I mean, they literally reflect the lighting within the game, right? Not a lot of cosmetics do that, and it literally looks like metal. it looks pretty cool, right? But now, if I go into the old baseplate, and again, I've done 0 changes at all. The only differences are that that was the new template, and this is the old template. If I play the game right now, look at that. The headphones aren't reflective anymore. Or I mean, they somewhat are, like you can somewhat see lighting over here, but like they just look different, don't they? Like I don't, like all of that shiny, like glossy material is just gone. Now, I'm not exactly sure what causes this, especially because both of these are still running on the same exact version of Roblox Studio, right? There shouldn't be any fundamental differences that I can't really change. So my theory is that each template just has different lighting settings, right? So it's like, perhaps this template has lighting set up in a way where it looks more realistic, where, like these headphones are like, made to reflect everything around them, and then maybe in this template the headphones are only meant to reflect the sun, and perhaps this is something that you can easily change within like the code of the game or whatever. But this is actually huge because a lot of the developers who make games, especially back then, just went along with whatever Roblox gave them as a default. They never cared about changing the animations. They never cared about changing like the way that the camera moves. Like a lot of games back then, even right now, they don't care about how the camera moves, right? Like they don't care about the fact that like when you move, the camera doesn't like shake. And it's the same exact thing for lighting, right? They're like, okay, yeah, we have some light, we have some shadows, everything's great. I don't see why I need to change it. I'll just keep it as it is. So I think this lighting and this almost like quality of the game ties into what made Roblox feel different, because this was the template that basically every game used, but also didn't change. And I think a lot of what made Roblox different back then is actually the fact that a lot of people would just use whatever Roblox gave to them and wouldn't give it too much thought. I feel like most modern Roblox games now are trying to branch out. They're trying to do their own thing. They're trying to, make all systems as customizable as possible. They want to make a custom camera. They want to make, custom user interface. And that's great. I love all of that. But back when everyone just used what was given to them, Roblox was a lot more of a playground where Roblox creators were the ones deciding how the games look, and not necessarily the Roblox developers. Even though back then you still obviously had all of the choice to actually be like, okay, I want the lighting to look different, I want the camera to be different. You always had that choice, but nobody really used it because nobody really cared about that. They just cared about making cool games. That is a big point, and that is actually something I'll get to further down the line. But the other quick point that I want to note, which I've been listening so far to the sounds that the characters have been making, and they seem to be the same sounds both here and here. But a lot of the old Roblox sounds, to me, they just felt like loud. They felt loud and almost clashy. I think newer Roblox is trying to aim for somewhat nicer and softer sounds. Like, for example, I don't actually remember whether the footsteps were changed in any significant way, but the way that they sound right now, to me, does seem kind of calm, right? Like, they're just, I don't know. They're not too loud. They're not really clashy. They don't have any real, like, boom sound to them. They're just regular footsteps that just sound pretty calm. And the new def sound as well, instead of the loud like oof, right? It just sounds like this. But then in the old days of Roblox, I specifically remember how weirdly loud, or not loud, loud isn't the right word, but how everything just kind of seemed to pack a punch when it came to sound effects, right? Like, I think a great example of this is actually the sword. Just a classic sword, right? If I just, put the tool into starter pack, sure. Like, if I played the game right now, and then I equip the sword, do you hear that? Do you hear how loud that is? But then if I go and kill my character, that's a lot quieter than the sound of the sword. And again, it's like I said before, considering how many games just used what Roblox gave to them, a lot of them would use tools from the toolbox, right? A lot of them would use default Roblox creations, which just felt, like I said, louder, more clashy, and that kind of made up Roblox back then, as opposed to the nicer, softer sounds that we have right now. And again, I actually prefer the softer sounds. I don't like the loud, sword, clashy sound effect. But it does definitely create another big distinction between the two versions. But I would say, and I would argue, although I don't think there's much argument to be had here, that the biggest reason why Roblox felt different before than it feels right now, and I've already mentioned this a couple times, but it's because back then, people would just take what Roblox gave to them. I know I keep saying this and you might not understand exactly what I mean, but like, for example, in here, if I want to make a part, I can just click a part and I just get a regular part. A lot of people wouldn't really think about changing the material as much. They would just leave it as whatever the default was back then, which I actually am now thinking, I'm pretty sure the default part back then had this material and not like the smooth plastic that it has right now. Another big thing is also user interface, right? Whenever someone wanted to have a button in their game, it would just look like this. So they would just add a button, put it here, and that's it. They wouldn't try and customize it. They wouldn't try to implement any, you know, like amazing scripts where like when you hover your mouse over it, it like becomes a bit bigger or whatever. And the thing is, this isn't even hard to do. I could literally do this right now. Look, like script.parent, mouse, enter, connect, function, and I could copy this, but then instead of mouse enter, I could say mouse, leave, and then I could say script.parent.text is equal to hovering, and then I could say script.parent.text, and then we'll set it back to be, what is it, like button? And so then if I go and play the game, look at that. Hovering, button, hovering, button, hovering, button. I just scripted that in like a solid 10 seconds. So my point being is that like this wasn't because of like some, technical difficulties at the time. No, people already could do this, but it was just because that wasn't their focus. What people wanted to do was they wanted to innovate with gameplay. That's why a lot of early games honestly felt like somewhat like fever dreams. Or I remember I used to love these games where you had to like go down slides. There was like a bunch of slides and you had these like cars which looked like food. So you get into the car and then you go down the slide and then it slides you around and you have to just pray that the car gets you to the destination and then you get like points or something. They were really dumb games now that I think about it, and they had no real meaning or purpose to them, but people loved playing them because it was just like a mini game. It was a fun thing that you could hop in with your friends for a little bit, scream as you're like sliding down on the grapes or whatever, and then stop playing, That was a really massive charm of Roblox. So it makes sense why people never cared about trying to make their user interface too different or trying to make their camera shake whenever the players walk, because nobody needed that. What people wanted, what people needed, what developers wanted to get a hold of first was that next gameplay mechanic, that next type of game that would just be the next big thing. Basically, Roblox has given devs a lot more choices when it comes to games right now. And it also seems to be promoting those various games to players. I remember I was on Reddit, and look, I was only there to make fun of people on Reddit. I actually remember, I'm a bit off track now, but I saw a post which was like I saw the election results and I literally had a panic attack. And then I called them stupid and I got banned for it, which was kind of unfortunate, but whatever. And a thing I saw on Reddit was on the Roblox subreddit, and it just said that when you're like downloading Roblox, apparently, it shows games in the background. I don't have the image right now. Maybe my editor can like find it. But the games that the new Roblox download menu shows are all vastly different. I recall there was one that showed like SpongeBob or something, and then there was one which was like some dumb dress-up game. Dress to Impress, I've heard is very popular, but it wasn't that game. There was like a bunch of random simulators, some like weird anime game, just a bunch of very, very different styles of games that didn't really have connections between one another. So Roblox is clearly promoting itself now to be more of a game distributor as opposed to a big game that has a bunch of little mini games. And I think this is very good for Roblox, right? Because this is actually what Steam did, right? Steam tried making their own games, which all were very successful, might I add. TF2 was amazing. I sunk like 1,000 hours into it as a kid. Portal 2, amazing masterpiece. It's great. But then they're like, hey, wait a second. What if we just let people make games for us, right? And we just let them do their thing. We just give them as much freedom as possible. In fact, we encourage that freedom, right? This is the big thing. We encourage it. And then eventually what happens is that, as this gets encouraged more and more, then games try and stand out more and more, which means there's a lot more variety. And obviously Steam, as a website that distributes games, wants people to know that, hey, listen, we have all of the games on the market, we have a bunch of variety, they're all amazing, and so obviously that's what they're going to promote. And Roblox is right now doing the exact same thing. And the other thing that I'll add on as well, which actually is going to include a bit of scripting. I know, yeah, scripting is boring, blah, 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 but just get used to it. I feel like scripting was also a lot simpler back then, you know? Like, you know, people were still familiarizing themselves with what, like, the most optimal coding structures were. You know, not many people knew about module scripts. In fact, I don't even think module scripts came with Roblox Studio. I think they, like, added them on later, although I could be wrong. And Lua is a very easy language, so people, you know, did end up learning it, you know, as time went on. But I can see why a lot of games barely had custom scripts and instead just relied on like toolbox assets or whatever, as opposed to right now where games have really complicated scripts which are very optimized, which practically let them make whatever game they want. Like, you could literally make anything you want. There's no limitations. Like, let me just give you an example, right? Back then, what a lot of games had was this thing called a kill brick. Specifically, a lot of like obbies had this thing. And I'm telling you legit, so many games just had this red part, which was just glowing, and it was everywhere. And this was one of the only few items within games that actually had a script inside of it. And the script is very simple, right? It's just saying, if the parent of the script, which is the part, if it gets touched, we'll just get the part that actually touched the kill brick. And then we just have to check if the part belongs to a player or not, which we can do by saying if hit.parent, if it has a child called humanoid, meaning it belongs to a character, then we're going to say hit.parent.humanoid.health is equal to 0. And so just if I play the game right now and I touch this, now I'm dead, right? This was kind of, it wasn't considered peak scripting, but like this was about as far as most games would go. And for a lot of games right now, this is nothing, right? This is like something you learn on like tutorial 0 of Roblox scripting. Like, you literally do. I'm not trying to promo here, but I have a course for Roblox, right? Which I promo in every other video. And even in that course, right? Literally, the first couple lessons, which are like 3 minutes each, because it's like a little introduction thing, I practically teach how to do this. Because like, it's just a necessity. Like when you start teaching people how to script, this is the first thing you teach, right? It's just, it's really not a complicated thing. But back then, a lot of games just had that and really had nothing else. A lot of games were stuck in these like little baby steps, you could say. But like right now, what a lot of people do, like let me just give you an example of like somewhat of a difficult script, right? It's not like too difficult, and there's better ways of doing what I'm about to do. Like, for example, if I make a local script that's supposed to go inside of my character, I can just say local car is equal to script.parent, and I can say local humanoid is equal to car, wait for child, humanoid. And so then what I could do is I could just say humanoid dot died connect function. So whenever the humanoid dies, we could do something like, and this is going to be a little complicated, but a local screen is equal to instance.new screen GUI. Then I can say local text label is equal to instance.new text label, and then we can parent that to the screen GUI. Then we can say text label dot position is equal to udem2.new. We could give it these values. We could say text label dot text scaled is equal to true. We could say text label dot background transparency is equal to 1. We can say text label dot text color 3 is equal to color 3 dot new. We could set the color to be white, and then we could say we want like this font or whatever. You see what I'm kind of doing here, right? Yeah, and so then we can just say local UI stroke is equal to instance dot new UI stroke, and then we'll just put that inside of the text label. Then we can say text label dot text is equal you died Lamau. We can then take the screen GUI and set the parent to be game.players.localPlayer player GUI. And then finally, we're going to say task, wait, game, players, respawn time, and then we're going to say screen destroy. Like, this is very rushed code, and it's not even really code. I just did a bunch of, property changing. But like, just something like this is an example. What it would do is that now that I die. Oh wait. All right, small bug in the code. I forgot to change the size of the text label as well. But what's gonna happen now is that, or I hope, is that if I play the game and then I step on the part, there we go. Look at that. You died, Lamau, and then it should disappear. There we go. Amazing. Like, again, it's just little things like these, right? That I feel like old games didn't have too, like, obviously I'm not saying that old games didn't have text that popped up. Obviously they did. But like what I just did within the script was I just made GUI just within the script. I didn't even add it inside of the actual game. That just quickly appears, sets all the things and then disappears. This actually isn't good to do. Like, you would be better off actually making the user interface just inside of here so that the game always knows what it's supposed to take and it just doesn't make a new thing every single time. But this was just kind of an example to show you like that, yeah, like code can get a bit complicated with you like creating stuff via code and not just via the Explorer window. And again, I do acknowledge this is a crappy example because if you can go to YouTube right now, you can look everywhere. You can even, if you want, again, I'm not trying to plug this, but if you go to my course, there's like free previews of the videos. It's all free. You don't need to like sign up or anything. You could actually see the type of code that I do there, and it's a lot more complex than this, right? You like in my course, like I end up with like scripts that are very long, and there's like a lot of them, and then they focus on things like saving data to server stuff, and there's like specific methods to do that, and how to like sort for like bugs, and how to avoid like the game crash. Like there's just a lot of stuff that just doesn't happen in a script like this. And I believe that all of these things came together to make Roblox different. So again, just to reiterate, right? Old Roblox, it obviously had the technical changes, like the characters were different, the animations were different, the graphics quality and the lighting are clearly different by default. But then the player base was different. Because the game was new, like I said, many people didn't quite know how to branch out. In fact, many people didn't even really want to branch out. Many people liked how Roblox looked, and all they wanted to do was just make a game that still fits within the constraints of Roblox. It was only after people started making games that kind of went beyond that. It was when people started making games that could actually pass as legitimate games. Games which you could literally sink hours and hours and hours into. Games that, instead of being fun little mini games that you log on every now and then, they became literal experience, literal like RPGs that could rival things like, I've never played it, but like World of Warcraft. RuneScape is another one. I've heard that people spend a lot of time on it. Like, there's a lot more Roblox games like that are hooking people in than just a quick social little minigame experience. And again, this is great for Roblox. I'm not saying none of this is bad. I like the way that things are going for Roblox. I think this is a better state than it was at before. However, of course, I'm not saying that Roblox completely abandoned all of their style. Like, of course, avatars are still there. And in fact, avatar customization, I would say, is more alive than ever. I mean, literally Dress to Impress, or like whatever that dumb game is called, where you go and like you pick, like I saw my sister playing it, and I'm like, what are you playing? And she's like, oh, I put on a dress, and it's funny. And so I broke her iPad 3 times. You should have seen it. It was amazing. But like, it's clear that avatars and customization is still a big part of Roblox. Like the big part is you have your own little avatar that you take on these like worlds, and you go to these like, different experiences. The fact that it's easy multiplayer is also great. And I say easy because a lot of games do this dumb thing where like it's hard to play with friends. I remember trying to set up a Minecraft server when I was little. I just could not figure it out. Like, now I know how it's easy. Just go to aternos.com. Like, you could just find some free website. But back then, I just didn't know how. But Roblox made it so easy, right? And I think this is still a big key factor of the game. And so, while a lot of us are still familiar with how Roblox used to feel and how games used to be, and a lot of these games are still, like, available to play now, I do think it's a case where people have just grown, people have started to try developing new things. I think Roblox, as fun as that phase was, I think it came to an end at a perfect time. It didn't overstay its welcome, but it also didn't leave too early, in my opinion. And we ended up with something that, in my opinion, actually looks really nice. I think Roblox, not even as a game, but even just for developers, like as a developer myself, I just like the way Roblox is structured right now. It feels like this baseplate feels a lot like something that's telling me, hey, listen, make something new, make something exciting, make something innovative. But this baseplate, I'm not too sure why, honestly. Maybe you might have a different experience, but this doesn't really tell me that. In fact, this doesn't really tell me anything. All that this really tells me is that I can go open the toolbox and, I don't know, unlock the sword giver and then just have people fight with swords, and then that's my amazing game. And so, of course, while Roblox has definitely lost its initial charm and art style, I think what it's gained in return is, in fact, a lot better. And so, yeah, once again, I kept saying I'm not trying to promo the course, but now I am. So go check out the course. Again, description, pinned comment. Check out my Instagram to see how amazing I am. No face reveal yet, but I look pretty cool. I also have like pigeon photos if you want to see those. So join the Discord, help me get that that cool little silver play button. It's actually insane how like a gold play button needs 1 million subscribers. Like, that's a lot. You know, like I've been doing this for a year and I'm just, you know, reaching 100k somewhat. Like 1 million is like, wow, that's like 10 times more than that. So yeah, and also again, one more thing, you know, leave a comment, just any comment. Tell me what you think. Tell me if you agree. Tell me if you disagree. Tell me if you hate me. Tell me if you love me. I don't care. Just leave some comment. Let me know what you think. Engagement is great as well, yeah, of course, but I like comment sections where there's just people talking about things. I hate comment sections where it's like, first, guys, like, shut up. Shut up. I was gonna say childless, but you're like, I mean, all of you are probably still under 18. I'm 18, right? But a lot of you are probably like 16 or something. Not childless, but like, you know, a lot of them, bro, you don't have loving partners, you don't have loving parents, you have no one, right? All that you have in life is being first to my video. Which, you know, I appreciate, of course, but I like comment sections that just have more discussion, more intellect, just more, talking more about what the video is about, as opposed to, edit. Hey guys, thank you for 73 likes, or shut up, I'll delete your comment. So yeah, you know, go do that, check out the other videos, and as always, we are back to basics. Thank you for watching.